Hello and welcome to the Bee Formless Flow Driven CEO podcast. We both have Aussies together. Woohoo! Here we are. So I am introducing Ryan Ettridge all the way from. Why am I saying all the way in on the
Not
in
that far at all.
in Brisbane where it's raining, and here I am in Melbourne where it's beautiful and sunny, and we're expecting the same temperature as you today, Ryan. So welcome to the show.
Thanks, B. Good to be here.
Thank you. Super excited to chat with you in terms of what you've created and the fact you are, you had, I think you said 18 years of experience in tech as a technologist, or maybe was that right? Yeah,
Yeah.
18 years as a technologist, but you're now a founder and advocate for fearless authenticity in business and leadership, and you've created a company called Unstuckable AI. Yeah, that's right. Unstuckable AI, which is obviously a platform, and I'll get you to tell a bit about the backstory around how you've come to that. But it's a platform designed to help the individuals and organizations break through that mental, cultural, and systemic blockages so that they can unlock the creativity and the performance and, be your, what I like to say, shine your brightest and feel and perform at your best. You're also the co-founder of CyberCert AI, loving all this AI, which is reshaping the future of cybersecurity training and certification with intelligent adaptive learning systems. So it sounds like you've got a super diverse background because you've got this tech piece, but you've obviously then got the coaching, the leadership, the human performance, working with execs. And you're super passionate because when you responded to my answer when booking in for the pod, you talked around this fearless authenticity is our essential nature. Tell us about everything. I want to know about your methodology. I want to know about how
Yeah.
you created this AI platform, the coach in your pocket. Hate to kind of, I know I'm generalizing that, but you know what I mean? So tell us all about it.
Yeah, you got it. There is a lot to unpack in that. So there's about 20 years of technology and cyber experience. That's my techie or core background, and um, always been a high achiever, overachiever. Actually, that's my story. So the fat kid, 7 years old, is this memory of being the fat kid, and always had to prove myself to be seen in a way that I wanted to be seen as. And so the way that I had learned to be seen as something I wanted to be seen as was to overachieve. That was the story of my life. But always felt like I had to work harder, had to earn it, had to get to the next step, and not had to be the best, but had to be better than. And that's exhausting.
It totally.
It's so exhausting because there's never like a finish to that subjective better thanness, but there's a real gift in it too,
Yeah.
because it definitely accelerated my career, university, all of that sort of stuff, right? So, but this drive of missingness was based on this fear of being seen as the fat kid, even when I wasn't.
So were you bullied? Like, were you
No, not so
because you
much. Just it
labeled
was more like
yourself as
self-shame. It's
did you?
more like, yeah, like not happy with who I was.
So you labeled yourself as that. You weren't called that. You labeled
Oh,
yourself.
there was comment. There was definitely, external comments of, how are you looking like that? Like you just eat the same as everyone else and do the same. But it's like, I don't know. Like I fucking control my body. Who knows? But
Mm.
anyway, so that whole embodied fat kid was this fuel, this motivation to be better than the norm, the average. And so that accelerated a career, but in so doing, burnt myself out, 15 years into that high performing early executive career. And I didn't have the knowledge or skills or awareness to know what the heck was going on. So, part of 800 partners that I was at the time, it was very difficult to get to the core of what that fuel was. So, I engaged an executive coach. And that executive coach helped me dive into the childhood stories and whatever else. Now, everyone has that. Everyone has their childhood story, but it's not necessarily the fat kid, it's whatever their fat kid is. Right. And so when I had learned that process, it was then, well, how come I didn't know this 15 years ago? That would have been good to know
Yeah.
15 years ago when I was starting my career, or even 10 years before that. as the fat kid to
Yeah,
say, this is actually a normal process.
100%.
And so it was really weird that of all of these leaders that I was surrounded by, no one could actually guide me through that.
Mm.
So, as this leader of cybersecurity and technology at the time, I then went and studied human development theory and executive coaching and brought that back into the teams that I was working with significant success. And part of that was, I'll get to the core method in a second. I'm
Yeah,
just
oh, good.
leaving that to the
I love it. I'm listening. I'm
and
listening. I'm actively listening. I'm intently listening to you.
I
Hence,
can see,
yeah.
I can see. And so with that, it's to say, well, yeah, so how can we bring this, let's call it the inner game or the leadership OS operating system into this technical world because a bunch of techies haven't really been introduced to this weird subjective fat kid story that's motivating burnout, right? So I went and studied all of that, brought it back into the team, and then it was like as clear as day that I've got to take this to the world. So I left my very high performing technology leadership role at the end of 22 and then started Unstuckable. Now, that had moved from, um, being known, we were talking about this just before, being known as this cyber guy to having to rebrand and take what was a really clear, obvious value proposition to the world. And so I'll come back to the transition in a moment, but it was really to say, well, how do I scale this thing? Because I went from techie with very well known in the cyber industry to then having to introduce this to executive leaders, CEOs, COOs, their teams, but then also proving that that was successful, having found the formula, the fat kid formula, I'll tell you what that is. But then it's to say, well, lots of people need help. And not to say that they're broken, but they're seeking that secret to unlock whatever their burnout is or their struggles.
Or identity, I won't say crisis, but identity, kind of struggles, if you like.
Yes. I call it stuckness. Well,
Yeah.
that's
Well,
hence
yeah,
unstuckable,
stuck. So
right?
I call it survival mode.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so it's the same essence, which I just categorized as stuckness and hence unstuckable, was to say, well, how do I scale that to unlimited amount of people? Because the limits or the boundaries to getting access to coaching is primarily financial.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like because it's an intense process, it's one to one, it's very private. You really need to be vulnerable. You've got to dive into this thing.
Mm.
And then all through that pro or 2 years or 2.5 years since I exited the corporate world, and I've come full circle, I'll talk about that in a sec as well, is AI exploded. So part of the rebranding with AI and part of the experience with AI was I taught this thing the method in like 4 minutes. And I'm like, whoa, this thing actually can have a conversation with someone and guide them through the
Yeah.
unstuckable method. And so then I invested the last 6 or 9 months or so to create Unstuckable.ai, which is the AI executive coaching app in your pocket.
Mm.
That, of course, is private, non-judgmental. You can be as vulnerable as you want. You can spend 15 minutes with this thing, or you can spend hours conversing with this thing, and it will pinpoint the stuckness in a matter of questions. So I'm going to pause there.
I love it. I love it. I love all of that. How old were you when, like, what your burnout? What did you? I shouldn't ask how old, but what was your burnout? What was that? What did that look like and feel like for you? Because you brought up this fat kid for so long, like that was kind of followed you your whole way through, and I've got a different version of that, which is perfectionism and the need to, control and like being attached to everything, and nothing was ever good enough, and my constant proving and. So that was me unpacking everything a few years ago when I got to the bottom of exactly where it all was coming from and stemming from. And I don't talk about this often, but mine was actually an eating disorder, like from
Right.
bullying. And so hence why I asked you about the fat kid because I really related to that, but mine was actually a real one. And then, kind of yours was real, but like I was asking about the bullying. Sorry, so that was the wrong wording. But I
Yeah.
asked that because those sorts of things can really, from a very young age, really imprint the rest of your life. And then you get to a point like you do, you burn out and you're like, I have to work through all of this. I have to unpack all of this.
Yeah.
And it happens to a lot of corporates because you're pursuing this success and chasing it. So my question is, but thank you for sharing that because it really does resonate from me from a deep personal issue as well. Like not issue, but
Mm.
place. But what was the burnout? What did that look like for you?
Yeah. So at the height of it, it was 16-hour days, 7 days a week of work. And I was loving it. I was really good at it. So the business numbers were skyrocketing, but everything else outside of work was breaking down. So conversations with the wife, my three young girls, all under the age of 5 at the time, would interrupt me as I'm trying to write a report on the couch when they just wanted to play with daddy. And all I'm thinking about is work, and I'm smashing work. But there was a moment where I'm like, I can't stop. And if I had visions of being addicted to something else, if I wasn't addicted to work. And it scared the shit out of me. I'm like, holy shit, if I didn't have work and I didn't have the wife and I didn't have the kids, what would I be?
Mm,
And so it was a little bit of a loneliness moment to think that I could see 10 years ahead of where I was to say, if I don't sort this out, then I'm going to be alone.
mm,
So the burnout was the exhaustion of trying to hold all of this stuff together. Like, I need to be the best husband. I need to be the best dad. I need to be the best at work. Binge drinking was creeping in. That would make me feel like the piece of shit. So I'd work harder and then nothing else would get in the way of that. So I've got this
cycle.
tension.
Yeah.
Crazy.
You were
And
stuck.
and this definition of stuckness is that what got you here isn't working anymore.
No. I so
Not
relate
just
to
work,
that.
but
God.
it's like I can't work any harder. I can't work out. I cannot take a holiday. So everything that I knew was like, it's not working anymore. And I don't know why.
You
And
do, but you just don't want to face the why. You know why. You deep
well,
down your soul knows why because your soul's screaming at you, this is not working anymore. This is what happens. Like, and I
yeah,
see it with a lot of execs and, people that are on the verge or in burnout or whatever, and it's like you actually do know. It's just that you are doing what you've probably done and well, you've done, I've done, and that is I'm seeking all these external answers, but they're not answering my question anymore. So the only choice I have is to actually go within and
mm,
understand what is going on here to find the why to then be able to get unstuck.
yes. But you see, the why isn't known because it's not a familiar.
No.
And so, yes, you get a sense that something inside isn't working, but how do you put that into words so that you can bring it into awareness and see that you can do something about that? And so the unstuckable method is pinpointed that it's always 100% of the time is a fear.
Mm,
And not a fear as in but a fear as in the fear of being seen as the fat kid, aka failure, rejection, safety, or pleasure and pain.
mm,
There's always these four fears. And so the core, every single bit of stuckness is, and the definition of fearless authenticity is to come to learn that the fear is not the problem. The fear about the fear is the problem. That is to come to make friends with the fear.
What's
And
that? What's that? Sorry to interrupt you, but what's that? The fear. What does fear mean again? I've got it in my head. You know,
yeah,
you
the
know what
acronym, the fantasized experience appearing real.
yes, exactly.
So that's a really good way to position it. Now, it's not to say that the fear actually isn't real, because back then it felt real. The fear of failure, the fear of rejection, the fear of safety or insecurity, and the fear of being hurt, and therefore seeking pleasure, avoiding pain. These are the four core fears. Everyone has them.
Mm.
And it's head, heart, tummy, groin. And so the even that to hear that for the first time, the listeners is like, what the heck are you talking about? But then the simplicity of it is the stuckness is always related back to the initial feeling that I'm terming fear, is to say, I don't want to feel that again. The fear is feeling that experience again. And because we avoid that, then we really amplify and seek the things that are not that.
Well, we resist it, right? Like
Exactly.
it's really interesting you're talking about this because
Yeah.
through my deep dive in my burnout and in the depths of it, I was like, rejection, like, rejection, self-worth, perfectionism, all of that. I went right into what does rejection mean, what does fear mean, and what does resistance mean? And when you fear something, you resist it. And so, like what we're talking about, what's happened to you when you're on the couch with your daughters and you're like, I can control work. I'm fearful of like, if I don't control work, I could, have an addiction or this could happen or that could happen. I was the same. I had all the other things, but it was like I was resisting doing the work because I was scared. I was scared of this unknown. It was like, yeah, it's such a fascinating. I love this conversation because fear is just one aspect of fear, when you break it right down.
Yeah. And I always say what we resist persists.
100%.
So if you can not resist the fear anymore, if you can sit with it, if you can notice the benefits of the fear, if you can make friends with the fear, then the fear doesn't have a grip on you anymore. You don't fear the fat kid anymore. Look at what the fat kid has given you.
Mhm.
A, it's not true anymore. B, look what it did.
Yeah, well, even case in point, what happened this morning, and you wrote to me, and I was like, once upon a time, my perfectionism would have cried. It's the end of it's a disaster, and it wasn't a disaster, by the way. But you know what I mean? But it was just like, oh
Yeah,
well, it's happened. Like, whatever. Like, I'm not perfect.
shit happens.
Shit happens. I'm living and
Yeah,
learning. Like, I'm not going to let this ruin my day. Whereas, like, like you say, with the fat kid or perfectionism, Little Miss Perfect, it was just like, I just was
yeah,
like, I kind of
yeah,
had a giggle because I
yeah,
was just like, of course,
yeah.
like, it happens. And so, how do we, yeah, when you push through that fear, my gosh, everything is possible.
Authenticity.
Mm,
Because the only distance between you and authenticity is that fear, is that gap. And the only way to move through the fear is to see that the fear is actually a friend.
mm, mm,
And so the question is always, what would you do without the fear? Well, I would go and have that conversation. Well, then that's the authentic expression. You don't need to go and sit on the cushion for 4 hours in meditation to go, hang on a minute, I just need to get in the zone. The zone is full of shit. The zone is avoiding the actual action. The zone is here. The zone is this conversation. The zone is actually the 16-hour days if it's coming from a place of intentionality.
mm.
The
Yeah.
long days are not the burnout. The actual fuel source is the burnout.
Mm.
I must be this.
Yeah, it's that expectation. It's being so attached to the outcome. If I do this, I'll be better at this. It just escalates and you just keep, and I don't know about you, like, and I am going to ask you this question because I don't believe, and you might disagree with me, and potentially you will, but I don't think you can always be, I'll just say thriving, right? Like, or to use your language, I don't think you can always be unstuck. I think there's times where you get stuck, but you've got to understand, well, how do becoming aware of when you're stuck or what is that fear that's popping up for me, for example, how do I get back to my authentic self? And so, I'll pick myself up sometimes when I'm like, oh, here we go. I'm hanging around in the survival mode. Like, what's going on? And it was happening. It happened to me last night. But like, now have the tools and the awareness to be able to go, shut it down, like enough, go to bed, and just tomorrow's a brand new day. Like, do you know what I mean? And that
Yeah.
was exactly what I did. And because otherwise, once upon a time, it was back to your 16-hour day analogy. I would just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and it was not giving me the results. It was just because I couldn't let
Yeah.
go. And it was me that I have to be better. I have to do better. It was this perfectionism. I was just like, last night,
Yeah.
I was just like,
Yeah.
here we go.
And
You know,
it's never ending, right?
mm,
So um, there's not an agreement or disagreement, but it's to say if you can get comfortable with the stuckness, then you're not stuck. You can actually thrive in
yeah,
survival
that's a good
mode.
point. That's a good point.
You actually thrive in survival mode. It's just welcoming the survival. As
Mm,
if the challenge is when you make the survival mode wrong. Now the problem is the problem you make of the problem.
mm,
Because no, it's just survival. Go and do it. Go and survival it until you thrive. You can thrive in survival mode. Just
100%.
get
That's that.
really good at surviving.
Mm,
Now you're thriving. So it's really it's not even a reframe. It's just to the same point. Why resist survival? It will persist. Embrace it. It's like, yes, this is just another part of stuff.
oh,
So the thriving is not somewhere to get to. It's here.
mm. Yeah, I agree with that. Do you come across like when you first, with your methodology and, this kind of what everything we're talking about, you would come across clients that were completely just like, what are you talking about? Like, because like
Yeah.
the problem's never the problem, right? And I see this a lot with clients because that there's always the external problem, like whether it's in a business and it's not growing or this is going on, or as a leader it's like, oh, my team's shit, this is happening and that's happening, and you can just pinpoint it straight away, like, and you guys are just like, you're like, okay. And so understanding your methodology a bit more, it's like it's when, or even if you bring up, well, what's the fear? What are you resisting? I'm not resisting anything. I've got this exercise, and then 2 weeks later it'll come back and they're like, oh, and it's
Yeah.
just eye opener, like, because they've
Yeah.
even resisted wanting to do this like exercise or whatever. But it's like, so yeah, I'm fascinated to know how you, yeah, like the sorts of resistance or fear you come up against, because
Yeah.
coaching has kind of, coaching as like can be seen as unregulated, cowboyish or cowgirlish, if you
Yeah.
like. How do you tackle that? Because yeah, it's not, yeah.
There's so what just came up was therapy's role is to diagnose
Mm,
a problem. It's like, oh, you've got this thing. Sometimes that can be helpful because it gives the um, uh, client or patient a label that they can go, well, okay, now I know I don't have a problem. I've just got this thing, right? But for coaching, you're right. It's not therapizing in that it's like, you've got a stuckness. You've got to fix the stuckness. Is it because as soon as you say you've got to fix it, you've just labeled it as a problem,
100%.
right? It's like, hang on a minute, you just, you know, double-edged sworded your thingy. But it's weird. Coaching is weird because you're talking about something that's unusual. And so the frame is always, bear with me, this is going to be weird. But that's because it's unusual because what's usual for you has gotten you stuck.
Yeah.
So we're about to introduce something that's a little bit weird. Close your eyes. Even a little bit of breath work and meditation is part of this getting comfortable with being weird because the discomfort is what we need to introduce as comfort. We're going to dive into the fear that's uncomfortable
Mm,
because you've been avoiding it for 30 years.
yeah.
It's like, okay, that's weird. Of course it's going to be weird because now you have to touch, oh, what do you mean there's this little self that's, talking about this? Why would 7-year-old me be leading that executive conversation? It's like, well, let's talk about the pattern. How long have you been leading with that pattern? It's like, oh shit. Oh yeah, okay. And so it only takes a couple of moments for the coachee to go, okay, yeah, yeah, I'm okay being weird. And then of course the practice is, what are the benefits of being weird? Go and walk around and be vulnerable. Vulnerability is power.
Yeah, I agree.
Vulnerability is confidence. Because if you can be vulnerable in the most vulnerable settings, then that's fearlessness. It's not to avoid the fear. It's actually to face head on into it.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
was just introducing it as this is going to be weird.
Yeah, stepping into the unknown. For me, yeah, I talk a lot about the fearless and the courage and the being
Yeah.
open-minded as well. You said to me pre-show that you've had 1,000 clients go through your unstuckable methodology.
Yeah.
And so that was when you obviously then decided that like let's get this onto a platform, if you like. I think that was right, was it? Was that right what I'm saying there? Yeah.
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 Yeah. In group settings, in team settings, in one-to-ones, in workshops. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Over,
quite
over 1,000
huge.
people are going
Given
through
you
it.
only started your business in 2022
23, yeah.
or
Yeah.
23, sorry. So to talk us a little bit about that because you've come out of burnout. You've also then gone, right, I need to fix yourself at well, fix you know, you worked on yourself first and then was like, okay, I need to bring this to the people.
Yeah.
So do you apply your own methodology, if you like, on you as well? Like you've worked with now 1,000 people, you've tested this out, it's working a treat. Yeah, do you use it yourself as well? That wasn't the
Yeah.
question I was going to ask, but that's what just
It's
came.
okay. Yeah.
I was about to ask it as I was about to ask the other question. I switched.
One of the one of the let's call it a mistake or um, misunderstanding of coaching, and even to extent coaches, is to think that that is the destination, and to think that I have to be clear and free and
Yeah,
unstuckable.
I know.
It's like, oh, well, the only way I can do that is to be with a coach, or the only way I can do that is to exit from the corporate world. Well, the only way to, be free is to get out of this capitalism society, something, something, right? That's a mistake. That is society. That is the world that we navigate, right? And so and I went through the motions myself, was to say, hang on a minute. If I'm addicted to this thing, then I have to make some space and get out of it, and almost judge it to the extent that it's wrong. How can you be doing that, causing burnout to everybody? Well, it didn't cause burnout. Yes, some of the systemic metrics and whatever else that we attach ourselves to are part of the challenge, but the actual cause of the burnout is the 7-year-old fat kid. It's not the systemic social setting that is the cause. It might be the amplifier, but it's not actually the cause. So in my journey, yes, applied exactly the same thing, but it was the same transition that came back to CyberCert, which is the other business that I lead now, and that's actually my primary role at the moment, is to be able to step back into the world fearlessly authentic because you're masterful at that trade and people are pulling you back into that trade. And the only way to amplify that, and I say this is um, the result of coaching, is that coaching is the doorway to lead without limits, to amplify life, to go and hit your relationships head on, go and love in a way that you've never loved before, go and work and achieve fearlessly.
Mm.
And,
Yeah.
and, and it is not possible for me to be able to lead this incredible cybersecurity journey that I have if I was still in burnout. So it's this apply to self, share it with everyone else because 90% of people might go through the stuckness. They just don't have the language and skills and terminology to move through it. But the stuckness is normal. The stuckness is just part of human development. That on
Mm.
the other side of that is a life that's amplified.
Mm.
Health, wealth, relationships, and impact
Mm.
all amplify when you can actually clear
Mm.
the anchor that is stuckness.
Yeah. I think it's interesting you've gone full circle, not full, well, sort of back to cyberset AI, and I'm keen to understand a little bit more about that because it sounds really interesting. But my question is, you talked around, the mastery, self-mastery, the mastery piece, right? I don't know. I actually believe you can be a master at something you've always been a master at, but that's not to say that you then can become a master at reshaping and taking everything you've learned and all the mastery you've learned from a previous world or, like for you, cybersecurity, and then go and, do something completely different, but bring all those skills.
Hmm.
I think you can have versions of mastery, if you know what I mean. So I'd love your thoughts on that because it was just a really interesting comment you made. And I was like, I guess my question is, are you saying that you believe that we all can only have one mastery, or is it more that you had to get unstuck to then be able to go and because the reason I'm asking this is because when I left the industry I was in, I was so burnt out, I was peed
Mm.
off, I was like F you sort of thing, because I was almost blaming it
Yeah.
for what had happened. And yet, so I completely walked away. And I'm not back in agency as I was previously, but I'm working with agencies now. Like I'm working with
Yeah.
them. And so that's a new iteration of my mastery, but I'm not just in the agency world, if that makes sense. I've expanded out of,
Yeah.
and yeah, so I was keen to understand your thoughts on that, if that makes
So
sense. I'm asking you.
I think so. So no, there's not. Of course, there's not only one way to be a master. Um, the point I was trying to get across was that wasn't the cause of the problem,
Yeah, so
right?
I was, yeah,
And the mastery is like real mastery is intuition.
100%, 100%.
You get woken up at 4 a.m., B, and they say, "Hey, tell me about this marketing thing," and you go, "You're not even thinking. Just it's just like 1,000% intuition." So there's something about not avoiding it as if it's the pain, but to be really open to what that might invite you back into, noting that coaching is what I call the leadership OS, is the inner game. But to talk about something is not to actually do it. So to have the skills and awareness of inner clarity in coaching, right? Which in and of itself is you can get masterful at, of course. You can be the master coach. Yeah. But for those that think that that's the destination, that when we coach leaders, that they have to get out of their leadership domain, that's not it.
No, God, no.
And,
No.
and this is the confusion that a lot of people see is to like, well, if I'm going to be free, I have to be free of the environment. That's not it. It's to say, actually, how can you amplify that if you don't have any fear or stuckness?
Mm.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so that's just the confusion that I see quite a lot is to say, well, oh, work's the problem. I need to find my purpose. Where are you going to find it if not right here? Yeah, and so the authenticity bit is to say there was a reason really that you are amazing at your job, amazing at your work. People love you. People are inviting you into their world because of the mastery that you have. The stuckness is not the work. The stuckness is the meaning you're making of it. The stuckness is the uh, what you're sacrificing perceptively instead of that work. Well, my relationships are breaking down, my health. Now, that's not to say you don't need to clean up your shit because you've got decades of shit that you've been dragging along. Of course, that's called cleaning up. But when you clean up, now the world opens up. And if that means that your mastery network invites you back in to say, hey, we want you to run this agency that is going to change the world, you go, fuck yeah.
Maybe, maybe not.
Maybe you go maybe, but the maybiness is because you're clear enough to say, I can choose which one I want to do.
Yeah,
It's not to say that that world will break me again.
yeah. Yeah, oh gotcha. I know I've definitely moved on from that. Yeah, it's just yeah, I think it's very interesting what you're talking about because I think it's also about evolution, right? Evolution
Yeah.
of, having that career ladder versus a career wall as well now. Like I've been looking at, obviously the future of work and the future of, what does it look like? And I think there's that opportunity also to, as part of finding what fulfills you and purpose. Sometimes you need to kind of, it's like that climbing wall. Like you might go sideways, you might go up, you might go down, you might go over here, you might go over here to get to, this is it. This is my sweet spot. I
Yeah.
thought this was my mastery sweet spot here, but actually no, this is it. And that comes back to for me exactly what you're talking around intuition. It's like,
Mm.
the nudges, when you sit in that silence or the non-time, I call it, and what's coming to you, or like you say, when you wake up in the middle of the night, you're like, yeah, there's the answer. Because the
Yeah.
answer always comes from within as well. Like, we always look for answers externally, but the
Yeah.
answers always come from within.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about, I'm going to pivot. Tell us a little bit about CyberCert AI, because I'm keen to
Yeah.
understand a little bit more about that.
Yeah. Well, I think I've got about 5 minutes
Yeah,
or 10 minutes or so.
yeah.
Uh, so
5. I'll give you 5.
thank you. So CyberCert is a small business certification, cybersecurity certification. It's the only one in the world. There's a few other jurisdictional ones that are mandated by government, and they're really effective for their jurisdictions. But small businesses have always been kind of left to fend for themselves and haven't really been guided in a way that helps the small business do what they do best, which is fixing my hair and my makeup and all of those sorts of things, instead of focusing on cybersecurity. So, what CyberCert does has created this mechanism, this certification program that activates a whole community of people that can deliver to the small business. If you can imagine, the small business's job is to operate the washing machine, not
Yeah.
to fix it. Yet the problem has been we give the small business the technician's manual to fix their own washing machine, and they go, "What the fuck is this?" Cybersecurity is broken in that sense. So what we've had to do is distribute that technical washing machine engine to bunches of partners who are passionate about the stuff that can go and fix washing machines. Small business cybersecurity.
I love it.
Now, in doing that, that means I'm facilitating, not the expert, I'm facilitating the community of people who can go and fix all the cyber washing machines for small businesses worldwide.
Wow.
Now, again, it's not possible to do that if I'm stuck.
I was about to say, no, no, that's why I was super curious and conscious of time, but I was curious because I was like, there's a connection here.
Yeah,
There's a connection piece around you just landed it. 'Cause I'm like, he's got Unstuckable, he's got cyberset AI. I feel like this methodology is translating through in terms of you've just mentioned fix it, but it's getting going from stuck to unstuck, like quite
yeah,
literally.
yeah, yeah, literally for millions of small businesses
It's
worldwide.
really cool. I love it. And I love the
Yeah.
way you've put the, well, not
It
put.
just evolved. And this is the, spaciousness that we often need to create is to say, well, there's no avoiding this cybersecurity mastery. It's just there. But it's now bringing the leadership OS in to say, I can coach people across the world. I can distill really complex topics for small businesses. I've got networks that I can connect to that can introduce influences across cyber, government, enterprise, etc. And so it's really just unfolding in this natural way to say, this is where the energy is. Go with that flow.
I love it. I love it. One last question. Whoa, oh gosh, I don't even know what this question would be. I generally ask for someone to provide us. Okay, no, 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 I've got it. It's just come to me. What would be one tip you would give, and it's pretty general, but like, what would be one tip you would give somebody who was feeling it's Wednesday, it's hump day, so Wednesday you're generally like, ugh, you're halfway through the week, you're looking for the week, you're looking forward to the weekend.
Yeah.
If performance was like, if you were just not feeling it, I'll just say, let's just say not feeling it, feeling stuck, what would be one tip you would give to someone who said right now, or was listening and was like, I'm just so stuck. I don't know what to do today. What would be one simple micro tip you could provide?
Define stuckness.
Oh, that's cool.
How do you know you're stuck? What is it? What can't you do? It's really you can't fix something if you don't really know what the problem is.
Yeah.
It's hard to know. Like it's where do you, what does good look like if this is what stuck looks like? To
Yeah.
define stuckness.
Yeah. It's very cool. Brian, I've loved chatting to you today. It's been like a really robust chat and, healthy debate and just good conversation. How do we find out more about you? How do we find out more about Unstuckable, Cyber
Yeah.
Search?
Both of them really easily. Unstuckable.ai is the actual website, and cybercert.ai is the actual website. So if you're a small business and you want some immediate, obvious, very simple washing machine help for your cyber washing machine, then cybercert.ai is that. There's hundreds of partners ready to serve you. No cost to start, even. And unstuckable.ai, you can download the app straight away. There's a free quiz there, 3-minute quiz, all of that stuff. If you want to have a free chat, you're welcome to do that as well. So thank you, B, for hosting.
Thank you. And we can find you on LinkedIn as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Ryan Ettridge on LinkedIn.
Awesome. I'll share it in the notes. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your day and hopefully the sun comes out.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.